Welcome back to In the Spotlight with Kathleen and Jeannie. Okay, last weekend I was invited on Beyond the Beltway with Bruce Dumont, and I have been a frequent guest on with Bruce. He runs a nationwide radio program that airs Sunday nights, 6 to 8 p.m. You can also watch it online or on his Facebook
a really
channel.
Great discussion.
Yeah, it is because
really intelligent people. And,
yep, Bruce is a very intelligent man, and he typically has maybe two conservatives and two liberals on, or maybe he'll put a libertarian in the mix or whatever else. But he tries to have a balanced panel.
And it's like a longer form, so you get really thoughtful conversations.
Yeah, it is meant out to be that way. He also takes callers as well. But I was on as one of his 4 guests that night, and of course the discussion came up about January 6th and the fact that the Democrats want this massive insurrection investigation, and the Republicans want nothing to do with it. And so we had a conversation around that. And myself and another conservative who was also a guest on that show, and that was Brent Hamachek. We both argued that, first of all, it's improper to call this necessarily an insurrection. And, that if you want to investigate this, like so many other people have mentioned, then we need to investigate some of the origins of the riots that occurred last summer, including the Portland riots specifically. You had attacks on federal property there, too. So it was this all-encompassing discussion, and it was, I thought, a respectful conversation. Right. Well, then the massive liberal who is like one of these vote mama people, I think that's what she does, is she's a complete liberal. Yeah. Her name's Alexandra Eidenberg. She was the token liberal on the panel that night. She misinterprets entirely what both Brent and myself said. Look, we said we didn't apologize for the people coming into the Capitol at all. We think that they were wrong. They should be prosecuted. But if you're going to go down the road of investigation, we want to know more about why was there such a security leak? How come the mayor didn't ask for plussed up National Guardsmen? That was all offered to her. We wanted it all investigated, and then she kept going back to it is an insurrection because there were people that were armed there, and we're like, no.
Well, that's been disproven.
That's completely the FBI themselves has disproved there were that nobody came in there with a gun. They found no gun violations whatsoever at all, and so we really kind of shut her down on that. Well, she kept coming back to it.
Right.
During the program, essentially saying that we were supporting the people who illegally entered.
Telling you what you were thinking.
Telling us what we were thinking. She was trying to insinuate that we were supportive of the people who illegally entered the Capitol. And we completely disavowed that. We said, no, we're not defending them as going into the Capitol, but we're also... think that if you're going to investigate, you got a lot more to investigate, honey, than this. And I mean, we just talked in our last segment. You had $165 million worth of property damage in Chicago alone, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Why aren't we investigating that? How come those rioters aren't being treated the same way the people who entered the Capitol illegally? There's completely 2 different levels of justice going on here. Well, she could not drop it. And so when Bruce Dumont asked her about something else related to Biden, she had to just go back at it. Go ahead and take a listen to this clip.
Okay.
As a Democrat, would you be cheering if Donald Trump ran again? Would that be viewed as easy pickings for Biden-Harris or Harris and somebody else?
Yes, I think that would be very easy pickings. And I just want to take a moment, Charles, you're a very smart gentleman, and I believe we've been on the show together, and I'm a little bit offended that you would question my integrity, and I just want to point that out.
You attacked people.
I've had numerous opportunities to have bipartisan conversation with you, and Brent, that's one of the reasons why I always appreciate being in your presence. This was an insurrection, and if we want to hide and say it's not, that's the problem. And Jeannie, when you're saying that the Republican Party gathers around policy, I think we've seen that Trump is not gathering people around policy. And this is why, Bruce, to your point, if Trump is the candidate, this is going to be an easier win for the Democrats than we thought. And he encourages behavior like racism and anti-Semitism out of the communities in every single state. And it is unacceptable behavior and absolutely disgusting.
Okay. So obviously,
Right.
she's responding because Charles said, you know what, you're not being honest. Both Brent and Jeannie flat out said that they don't support what happened with the Capitol
Jeannie, all her
incursion.
friends say.
But all her friends
her
say
friends
one other
say
thing.
that
Did you also notice that she made just blanket ad hominem attacks?
Yeah.
She
Well,
couldn't shut
listen,
down
she
one
couldn't-
policy thing at all.
She is not used to being in a conversation with people who have different ideas. That's pretty clear. I mean, this is what happens when your entire political discourse is mainly comprised of symbols, slogans, and slurs. She's preaching this nonsense, and she continues with the idea, even though it's been totally disproved. It's been dismantled by you guys because she has learned that it's effective. It's an effective way to deal, like in fear and accusations of bigotry. And so for her, no matter what the topic is.
Well,
it's
and I
gonna
love
be
the fact that honestly,
spun.
people like her who sit up there on their high horse and actually can't defend the state Democrat policies at
Right.
all. Can't defend City of Chicago policies. I mean, this whole state has been run by Democrats
Right.
for nearly a century, and these people will refuse to take notice of that, and they always want to point to something that they're more comfortable saying with rather than looking at what's going on the ground. I mean, I was like so
Just
little
distract
respect
from whatever you're
but
doing.
this conversation then took another turn when it was Charles Lipson's turn to speak. And I mean, Charles Lipson, if you don't know, he is a professor emeritus
Yes.
of political science at the University of Chicago. I've been on with Charles a number of times. Certainly, I find him more
Thoughtful.
moderate than me.
Yes.
Very, very thoughtful.
Well, and
He's a
through this,
writer.
he's sort of a voice of reason
Yes.
when he's on this show.
Yes,
he
he's
doesn't
even-handed.
go one side, the other.
No, he never gets his gander up ever. He specializes in international relations, international political economy, modern political history, or international history. I mean, this is his area. This is where he's comfortable. He knows a lot about what's going on, and he's a very measured voice. Well,
Let's
his
hear what
response to Alexandra was absolutely spot on.
Yeah.
Listen to this.
That Alexandra said. Alexandra, first, almost every time you speak, you use the term disgusting, and you use it with regard to what other people are doing. I don't think this is a helpful way to talk with each other about politics. Secondly, what I objected to in what you were saying was you were imputing to Jeannie and Brent views that they did not have. And since those views were being imputed after they had clearly said that they didn't have them, it was hard not, I didn't say this at the time, but I will say it now, it's hard not to believe that you were imputing it to them with deliberate falsity. So that's why I called it a smear. I don't think this is the right way to talk about things. Everything is disgusting to you. Every approach that the other side says is an insurrection. This kind of hyperbole is not good when Trump does it, and it's not good when you do it.
Charles, I think the insurrection is disgusting. I can use deplorable, I can use other descriptive words. Any attack on our Capitol is disappointing and disgusting.
I agree with that.
I hate that you do not like.
I agree with that. Now, what are you going to impute to me?
Are you mansplaining? Is that where we're going with this?
Oh, I see. Now we get to gender. Go ahead. Am I also white? I mean, what else are you going to attack me for?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and that's exactly what the left does. They go straight to the name calling.
Absolutely.
And then try to dismiss him as just mansplaining. He is a
was
professor
excellent.
emeritus.
Yes. Well, and that was an excellent, just a lesson in dealing with people who are like Alexandra. I mean, he stays in control of his own emotions. He calls out her behavior specifically, and he says, specifically, you did this. And then when she attempts to bully him, he doesn't back down. And he calls out the ridiculousness in her bullying because she, again, is used to using those arguments as a cudgel. And that's what the left has
exactly
done.
right.
They have beaten everybody into submission. Facts be damned. They know they don't have to use any facts, and they can just do this stuff because people back down. They don't want to be a mansplainer. They don't want to be, called a racist. And that was a very effective shutdown.
Absolutely.
That was awesome.
Charles is amazing. Perfect perfect response to the left's ad hominem
Yes.
attacks. Love that man.
He was awesome.
Yep. Okay, stay tuned for our last segment.